Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Geevor Tin Mines Podcast. Today I am joined by Grant Jelbert, a former tin miner and current employee here at Geevor, who has kindly given up his time this morning to join me. Welcome, Grant. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.
Excited?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. Well, we'll get started straight away. We've had a few interruptions already, so this is take 3 now. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, my name's Grant Jelbert. I was born at Zena, a little village between here and St Ives. We was on a little small farm, but we needed extra money coming in, and my father was an ex-miner. He worked at Levant until it shut, and then he came across to Geevor. So I got a job in 1976 at the age of 16 as working on the surface, training to be a turner fitter. I didn't really like it on the surface. I wanted to go underground to where the bigger money was. My father wasn't that happy about it, but I went underground. So I was underground at the age of 17 in 77, and I started off days pay labouring, and then I worked my way up to timbering, which is shoring up the mine in steelwork and woodwork, and eventually got on to developing, which is drilling at the face, which is doing the horizontal tiles.
So you said you started here at 16.
Yep.
And then went underground at 17.
Yep.
So, and your dad was a miner as well.
Yes.
So did you really follow in his footsteps? Obviously, you said he wasn't too keen on you going underground.
Well, I did follow in his footsteps because he was timbering as well. So, and I was doing the same as what he was doing.
Obviously, again, starting out quite young, it was obviously quite an intimidating thing to do. I presume you remember your first job going underground quite clearly, first day on the job?
Yeah. It was certainly an eye-opener. It was very frightening, to be honest. Especially to see when you see the drillers working, the conditions they were working in with the heat, and covered in oil and lead, which is the iron oxide. Because the deeper you go, the further out under the sea you are, the hotter it gets. And in some places it was over 40 degrees, so it was very hot.
Obviously, like you said, going deeper, then obviously the conditions get worse. And obviously, as a guide now, you definitely get asked this question a lot. But what were the conditions like underground? Obviously, the deeper you go, the hotter it's going to get, right?
It would never be done like we worked it. I mean, this particular mine, Geevor, was brutal. It really was. And I didn't realise that, how bad it was, because I'd never been to another mine until Geevor shut. And then I went to another mine, Wheel Jane. And that was so much more modern, a lot more push-button affair. Geevor was way, way behind the times. But ask me where my heart is too, it's here at Geevor.
Like I said, so it gets hotter and obviously the conditions get worse the deeper you go. How deep did you actually have to go?
Right, I have been down to 22 level, which is the very bottom of mine, which is 2,200 foot. But most of my work, I was on a lot of the top levels, 1,200 foot down, 1,300 foot and 1,400 foot. But then I did go down to 1,700 foot and 19 level, which is 1,900 foot. I've done quite a bit of work down there, but it's very, very hot down there. Let's say over 40 degrees in some places. A lot of the guys were fainting with the heat.
Yeah, sounds pretty brutal, like you said.
It was.
Could you describe for the people listening how a typical day at work would go for you underground? So sort of start to finish, how long was your shift?
Right, well, we would go into the dry, which is a changing room and shower room, about 6:30. You get to know what level you're on because they start dropping the men down at 7 o'clock in the morning, and that would go right through till about 7:45, 10 to 8. Top levels first, bottom levels last. So I think I used to go about 10 or 7:15. I used to catch K's down, and you're all jammed up, 9 of you in a cage with your small dinner bags, and lots of aggravation and fooling around as we're going down in the cage. And then we'd get out on the level, and sometimes we'd have a cup of tea to start with before we got going, and then everyone would disperse and go their own ways.
No different to today, then.
No.
Obviously, you said you went down in the cages. Obviously, they weren't like fancy elevators, were they?
No, no, the cages would say if 9 of you jammed in, there's 2 cages. Well, one cage is down the bottom, the other's up the top. And so each one would counteract the other one. And it would drop you pretty quick. In fact, so quick, sometimes you actually think you're floating, but you're not. Your feet are on the floor in the cage because I've actually looked. It's your stomach that's going. And you are certainly jammed right up against the person in the front, so you certainly know whether he's been to the pub last night.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I could imagine. Obviously, starting like you said as a young lad, you started at 17 underground. Did the other miners in the dry and who you were working with look out for you and each other?
Yes, they did because they had quite a bit of respect for my father, so that's why they knew me. So I suppose you could say I had a bit of a leading edge in a way, and everyone did look out for each other. Um, Obviously, there was the odd falling out, which did happen, but you knew the end of the day, if something happened to you, they would dig you out, and that's what your life depended on.
Would you say that sense of almost camaraderie is still present on site today?
Yes, it is. There's 2 or 3 ex-miners, and even now we sort of talk each other's language. It's like it's very hard. Everyone wants to know what it's like down there, um, and they'll never know because health and safety, and it's flooded up to sea level. So I could talk to a lot of people that's done different jobs, and unless I've actually done that job, I haven't got much of an idea. So it's very hard for me to explain what it's actually like down there. But it is like a different world down there.
Yeah, I can imagine. Even in my experience for being here just a little over a year now, the whole place does still really feel like one big team and like a family, which is obviously
Yeah,
stemming from
and that
you and the former miners yourself.
yes, and that's the way it was. Yeah, yeah, everyone knew each other, and everyone got on okay. Yeah.
Obviously, you still get that old falling out.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sure many people would like to know. Obviously, like you said, you started at the bottom,
yeah,
doing day labor in day's
yeah.
pay. What was the money here? What was it like here at the time?
I can't actually remember what the day's pay was, but then I never got on the tramming contract, and that's what everyone wanted to get on because that was quite good money, and that depended on whatever tonnage was hoisted up the shaft. It didn't make any difference what tin was in that or not. It's all to do with the tonnage that was hoisted up, and most, if they had time during the day, they would put what they call skips on, and they hoist 2 tons of rock at a time. But most of the day was taking up dropping men down and materials. So most of the rock was hoisted up nighttime on a night shift. Um, but if you want the ultimate money, it's drilling. And there's 2 sorts of guys. There's the guys drilling up, and that's called stoping. And then what I was doing, developing the horizontal tunnels. So we would extend the tunnels by 8 or 10 foot every day, or probably now about 3 meters.
And that would take all day, or
No, because first thing in the morning, we would come in,
have a cup of tea.
have a cup of tea, and then we water down everything to keep the dust down. And then we had to clean down the ground, which is with pinch bars because we blasted the night before. So there's lots of loose rocks hanging. So we'd have to make sure it's safe. And you're going to make sure it's safe because you're the one going under there. So we clean it all down. And then we would use an Inco mucker, which is it's like a very, very small JCB. It picks up the rocks and throws it behind into wagons. So we would clean up all the rock we blasted the night before. Then we would have to dig in our sleepers and extend the track or water pipes, and then start rigging up the drilling machines, and probably only be using drilling machines for about 2.5 to 3 hours. Some people only went for 8-foot rounds or less, but if you want the big money, you're going to go for 10-foot.
Would you say it's the money that motivated you to come into work every day? Because obviously the conditions were horrendous. You were so deep underground. Was it the money that made it all worth it?
Back in the 80s, I mean, if you wanted £100 or more a day, you could do it. And that was big money then. But it comes with a price. And the conditions were absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, I can
To
imagine.
work it. But back then, that's the way it was. But obviously now it'll be done completely different. Lots of green buttons and red buttons.
Yeah, you wouldn't be sent in like that anymore, I can
I
imagine.
wouldn't even be allowed to use the drilling machines because of the shaking vibration white finger. It would be a sit-on job, green buttons and red buttons.
Yeah, because that probably affected quite a few
Yeah.
people. Did it affect
It-
you at all yourself, or?
I get white finger if it's really cold weather, yes.
Yeah, I can imagine. Obviously, you said as well it affected your hearing underground as well, like
Yeah.
you said,
Yes, it did, yep.
which I presume again is another thing that affected most people underground due to a lack of health and safety.
Yes, basically it was. And the trouble is, when you're young, you think you're invincible. But when you get older, it takes its toll.
Did you use any earplugs underground? Because you said
I
the drills were
got-
quite loud.
no,
So.
I couldn't get on with the earplugs. So I just tried to have the ear defenders. I did try the earplugs, so I couldn't really get on with them very well. They kept sort of coming out my ears. They wouldn't really rip that. Yeah.
Kind of paid the price in the end.
Yeah, so I paid the price there. Exactly. Yeah.
Obviously, Geevor closed 1986 originally, and it was opened again in 87, correct?
Yes, I think it's 87 or 88, something like that. They tried to reopen it and they were trying to call some miners back, but it never really took off.
Did you
Because
leave here in 86?
I left in 86 because the price of tin collapsed in 85. I left in 86 and I went to another mine, Will Jane, and then eventually that shut. So I got a different job on the gas industry, whereas a lot of the guys went abroad mining, Sudan, Canada. A lot went on the Channel Tunnel when that started. So when you think all that money coming in, especially to a small village like Pendine and Just, it really did have a big knock-on effect. You think of the pubs, bakeries, things like that.
Oh, it's people's families as well. Obviously, when it
Exactly,
closed eventually,
yeah.
1990
Yep.
was the final day in February.
Yeah.
Just how many people did they employ here as a whole?
Right. In its heyday, it was just under 400 people. I think it was about 125 that was on the underground. The mill was going 24/7, but on the surface, you had a two-turner fitter shops, carpenter shops, sawmills, blacksmith shop. Um, and you also had the guys which were hoisting up the rock night time.
Obviously, when it closed then 1990, that's like 400 people's income, isn't it? There's 400 families in such a small area because people only came really from, well, St. Just, Pendine,
Yes, they do.
more of Newlyn as well, or Zena, like
Yeah,
yourself.
towards the later years, there's a few from Penzance, Newlyn and Sedais. And there was a couple that came down from Camborne, but that was as far as it stretched.
Obviously, when it closed, you said you went into a different profession altogether.
Yeah.
Once you left Will Jane, you said?
Yes.
So you were only there for about a year or so, right?
A year and a half, and that shut. So most of the guys from there, they went to the last remaining mine, which is so crofty. I could see the writing was on the wall, so I thought it's time for me to get a different job. I was either going to South Africa to work in the gold mines, or um, Canada. My mates carried on, but a job come up in the gas industry, which was British Gas then. It's now Wales and West now. And I got a job there, and I've done that for 30 years, and so I can make the mining altogether. Still digging, but in a different way.
And once you finish at the gas then for over 30 years, which is quite a long time, that's longer than obviously you spent here.
Yeah.
You came here as a guide then, a few years back, a tour guide.
Yes, I did, because I retired from the gas, and I thought, right, I still want a job, and my heart is still here at Geevor, and I thought, right, so I acquired a better job up here, and I was lucky enough to get the job as a guide, and that suits me fine, because no more breaking locks, and it's just talking to people, and you meet lots of different people, so it's quite interesting.
So would you say you enjoy the guiding side of it,
Yes, I do.
but not as much as working underground, I presume?
Um,
It's probably a little bit easier, isn't it?
yes, absolutely. But the trouble is, I couldn't do the work I used to do anyway now. Yeah, I just enjoyed talking to people. But if I could turn back the clocks, I probably would have done it all over again.
Yeah, that would have been one of my final questions for you. But obviously, yeah, like you said, you enjoy the guiding side of it, and obviously telling people about what you did here, because people do enjoy listening to you and the other miners we've got here as well, about your stories and time underground. Obviously, like I said, I've been here about a year, and I've certainly learned a lot from you guys as well. So
Yeah.
Again, yeah, like I said, if you did have your time here again, you said your heart is still in Geevor.
Yeah,
You would definitely go and do it all again.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah.
But is there anything you'd do differently at all, or?
No, I mean, you meet lots of people, and I really, really did enjoy it. And I honestly thought when the mine shut in '86, I thought, oh, give it a month, 2 months, it'll be open again. And then it didn't happen. And that's when it really drums into you. You think, right, I got to find another job.
Well, that's pretty much all we've got time for, I'm afraid. But it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you very much for coming in. That is the end of the first episode of our Geevor podcast. Thank you very much, Grant. It's much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Charlie, for interviewing me.
Have a lovely day.
I will do.